Hi, everyone. My name's Nicole. It's like the first time I'm showing my face in class. I don't really like doing that. But I'm going to show you some of the outdoor equipment that I've acquired over the last several years. I've really gotten into hiking, camping, and backpacking. Unfortunately, none of my close friends like to go backpacking. So I have joined a group with the Sierra Club. And they host a class called Wilderness Basics, which I highly recommend to anybody. Because they go through like safety, they take you on trips, they teach you how to navigate, they do all sorts of different things. So if this is a sport that you're looking to get into, I would definitely check out like your local Sierra Club or your local hiking groups, or ask people at your outdoor equipment stores that are nearby you what they recommend to learn how. I know the REI near me does some like mini classes as well, but it's a lot more expensive than what the Sierra Club offers, since they're a nonprofit. So I just want to preface this by saying anytime you're doing an activity outdoors, you really need to let somebody know where you're going and when you're expected to come back. Even when I go on like short hikes within San Diego County that are like relatively well traveled, I always let somebody know where I'm going and when I'm supposed to come back. You never know what could happen. Like you could trip, you could fall, you could end up off trail somehow. The weather could get bad. And if you do have to get rescued or someone has to come find you, that kind of information is super helpful for people to have. And like, let's be honest, just as like a safety issue in general, there's like strange people out there sometimes, like everywhere. I would say outdoor activities, I've never had an issue, but you never know. And it's always better to let somebody know where you're going than not and have something happen where you should have. The other thing I want to say is that you should always practice leave no trace, or some people call it pack it in, pack it out. I'm not going to fully go into that. You should definitely check, in your local area what the rules are. For instance, like in, San Diego County and throughout Southern California in general, we have both mountain and desert, and the rules for leave no trace are like slightly different for both as far as your hygiene and going to the bathroom. So just check in. The rangers are a great tool for that. Again, those are also people that you should check in with if you're going somewhere. So I'm going to go through what I have for water, for food, some of my hygiene and safety equipment, and then first aid. And I'll also show some cold weather and snow equipment, because actually one of the things we do in the Sierra Club is go snow camping, and some of the equipment's a little bit different for that. So first for water, I personally always hike with a hydration pack. This is one I just got. I'll probably actually get a 3-liter as well, because I just drink a lot of water. What I like about this one is that when you fill it up on the top, you open up the whole thing almost like a Ziploc bag and fill, and then you fold this piece over, it closes, and then you slide the clip across the top. Some people really don't like these, but in the past I've used hydration packs where you had to screw like a piece right here, and I swear to God, I spilled it every single time. So this is much easier for me. The other thing I bring for extra water if I'm going on a longer trip, say in the desert where you can't make water, are things like these platypus bags. So they're flexible. When you're done, they're flat and they don't take up much space. And the other nice thing is they can be squished. So I can pack this in my backpack and kind of manipulate it around the other things that I'm carrying. The one thing I don't have yet that I've ordered is a system for making water, because honestly, I hate doing it. But I think it's honestly like a really good survival skill. And that's kind of like what I view this. It's an activity I like, but these are also things, if there were an emergency, like an earthquake or something, a fire, like I needed to leave, like these are things that I could use as my emergency kit as well. So the one I ended up purchasing, and I apologize if I pronounce it wrong, it's called Grail, Grayl, and it's basically a bottle that has 2 pieces. So the outside piece is for your dirty water, and then you press down the inside piece, and there's a filter at the bottom. And so that way your clean water is always separate from your dirty. And the reason why I got that one is because it was a fairly low price. It protected from bacteria, viruses, and protozoa, which are things like Giardia and Cryptosporidium that are really not fun to get. But it also did really well on water quality tests. So if you're getting water from an area where it's kind of dirty, it'll also filter that out. And the thing I liked about it was that the you could use it in areas that you're traveling to where the water quality might not be that good. So, it's small enough that you just carry it with you anywhere if you're traveling overseas somewhere, and you could make water using that. One thing I want to say along with water is like hydration is so important. I am, not good at this, so I'm going to show you guys an app that I use, which it seems like super childish, but it's called Plant Nanny. And so you get a plant, you'll see I've been terrible at it today because my plant is like dying, but you basically give it water every time that you drink. So I did just have 12 ounces, and you can set this to metric too. And so like it feeds your plant, and then eventually you get to put all your plants in a greenhouse. Like, yes, I know it's dorky, but if you're someone that doesn't drink a lot of water, I would recommend you need to probably start hydrating a couple weeks to several days at the latest before you go out on a trip. If you're drinking Monster and coffee all the time, like you're going to feel it when you're out on the trail. So that's water. And then for food, I'll show you some of the things I bring in a second, but I have my whole cooking system in this little Stanley pot. It's teeny tiny, and you open it with the handle, like kind of clips back on. And inside, it came with 2 heat-proof cups, but I usually only carry 1. And then my little stove fits right inside there. So this little guy is from the brand Snow Peak. I think it's the Giga Power stove. I've used it a lot. It's amazing. It folds up really small, and then you just unfold it. There's a starter right here. That's always worked for me, but I always carry matches as a backup just in case. And it also, you can buy for a few extra dollars, is this windscreen. So this actually goes over the little pieces that you balance your pot on. And then it protects your flame from the wind. So if you're in a windy area, this is going to help actually keep your fuel conservation a little bit better, because it's not going to blow all the heat away so that it's not heating up your food. So most of the food that I do is rehydrated. I have purchased usually backpacking food. I am trying a new experiment where I'm going to dehydrate some food in my air fryer and then try reheating it. I'm definitely going to do that at home before I go out, because I don't want to be like starving on the trail if it's a fail. So I'm going to do that. But one thing I read about when you're dehydrating food is that you should always keep the fats on the side and not put that on before you dehydrate, because I guess the fats can go rancid when you dehydrate your food. So that's something I'm going to test at home. After I heat up my water and I pour it into my food bag, I put it in this little pouch. This is from a small business called Discovering Wilderness. And I guess they call it a koozie, but in this, there is like a reflective material. And you just put your food in there and you Velcro it and you let it soak. And what I really like about this is it keeps your food warm while it rehydrates, because I find that a lot of times when you're rehydrating food, by the time the like 15 minutes or whatever has passed, your food is already cold. And this is just like a creature comfort that is very light, and I enjoy that. As far as cooking the food goes for fuel, like every backpacker and camper, I have a variety of fuel canisters. Like some are almost empty and a couple are really full. If I'm going somewhere for a long time or going somewhere really cold, I'll bring a larger canister, even if it's a shorter trip, because it's going to take more fuel to heat my water up. Where if I'm going like, okay, this one's like almost empty. Like if I'm just going for one night and I'm only going to cook one meal, maybe 2, I'll probably bring that instead. I actually had more, but I gave only a couple to people in the group that I'm in who were just getting started, because I was like, I cannot have like 7 different fuel canisters. And then depending on what I'm doing, where I'm going, I might bring like a mug that has a lid on it because the cup that is in my Stanley doesn't have a lid on it. So the drinks will get cold faster. I have a little bowl that's plastic, super light, a little plate. Usually don't carry that because it's not usually needed if I'm eating out of a bag. And a fork and a spoon that are made out of titanium. So these weigh almost nothing. I used to have a knife. It is gone, but doesn't really matter. A lot of times I only bring the spoon because there's very little I've eaten outdoors that required a fork. So, and then I do have, you know, some bougie things. If I need my creature comforts, I have this little silicone pour over. So if I put this over my mug, I can bring coffee grounds, and I have some filters that are like recycled that you just put in there. If you do this, you do need to pack out your coffee grounds. You can't leave those outside. They won't biodegrade. And even if they do biodegrade, you're altering the environment, and that does not count as leave no trace. All right, so that's my cooking stuff. Then I'll just show you like a couple of the things for food. So if I'm not bringing ground coffee in my pour over, maybe for like weight or space issues, I'll sometimes bring something like this, which is just an instant coffee. They have great instant coffee at Trader Joe's too. I am just a little baby, according to the Italians, that loves a milky latte. So this one has instant coffee with a non-dairy creamer in it. And then I'll bring a lot of snacks. So these Fruz balls are great. You know, super high in calories, super low in weight. I also really like these sesame snaps. That's just a classic for me. I'll usually bring some like pouches with almond butter or peanut butter just in case. And I'll bring something extra for hydration that's not just water. So I'll either bring something like Noon or something like Ultima, which is another one. They're both electrolytes and they both don't have any sugar in them, which for me just works better if I'm drinking a lot. So this one's my current favorite, but the Noon is pretty good too. The Noon is like tablets that dissolve. So again, it just depends on where you're going, what you're doing, how much you need to bring. So that's food. And I don't currently have, you know, other than a breakfast, I don't have any backpacking meals to show you. I ate the ones that I have and have to get more. Okay, so then we're on to hygiene. I'm going to spare you some of the gory details of this, but there are systems for women to be able to like pee standing up and like replacements for toilet paper. Personally, like I have started using those things because part of my like leave no trace is I want to minimize my impact on the environment. So anything that helps with that, depending on where you are, and actually let me get the wag bag so you guys can see that. I'm sure you'll be so excited. And now I can't find it. Of course. Of course I can't find it unless it's in here and I don't. Oh, it is in there. Okay. So wag bag is something that depending on where you are, it holds your poop. And it's not really fun to use, but if you care about the outdoors, you have to. And in a lot of places, you can actually get a ticket for not having one. So again, like check where you're going. Certain mountain areas, you don't need one, but then in others you do. And a lot of times it has to do with the number of people that are using the area. The desert that I go camping in a lot used to not require one, and now they do. So a wag bag is something that looks like this. This one's called El Crap, but it comes with a poop bag, the outer disposable bag, a deodorizing powder packet, and some toilet paper. So basically you like lay this down, the poop bag on the ground, you do your business, and then you clean up and pack everything in here. And then this you do take out of the wilderness with you and throw away somewhere. So if you're in a place though, where you are allowed to go outdoors, you should bring a poop trowel. And the brown on that is not poop, it's dirt. This should never touch your waist, okay? Because that's kind of disgusting. So basically what you do is you dig a hole, and there are measurements on here. It should be you know, between I think 4 and 6 or 6 and 8 inches deep. You got to look it up for where you're going. And then you do your business in the hole and you cover it up. But any toilet paper, anything you use, you have to pack it out. So I carry most of my hygiene stuff in this little bag. It's waterproof, which is nice. So I have some biodegradable toilet paper. Again, I'll pack this out unless I'm in an area where I could bury it. I have a plastic bag just in case I do need to pack things out. And there's actually 2 in here. And the reason that this is nice, that it's not see-through, is because no one wants to see your dirty business in here. I have a thing of hand sanitizer. Depending on where I'm going, I might bring like a wet wipe for my hands, or some biodegradable soap that are little leaves. But again, this is something that you need to bury. You can't just use this and leave it in the grass. So I'm going to stick that all back in here. Okay. Then I have some other soap that's also biodegradable. This is called Camp Suds. I've had this for years and I've used this much of it. It's super concentrated. I've only really ever used it on multi-day trips where my dishes like had to be washed. But again, it tells you on the back, it needs to be buried 6 to 8 inches in the ground, and you have to keep it away at least 200 feet from any water sources. I also have, let's see, I have some of these wipes. So I bring a body wipe and I bring a face wipe, usually like one of each for every night that I'm out there. The reason I do that is I just feel kind of gross if I don't clean myself off like every night before I get in my sleeping bag. To me, it's like the equivalent of getting into your bed dirty, and I'm just not about that. Again, these are things that I'll pack out, and they're pretty lightweight. They're pretty small, and they work really well. The other thing is, like, I'm so pale, I have to wear a ton of sunscreen, and that just attracts a lot of dirt. So something that cleans that off at the end of the day is a must. Then I'll bring just like a small toothpaste, and just anyone is fine. And fun thing about these is when it's empty, you can actually unscrew it, put your regular toothpaste up against it, and like re-squeeze toothpaste in it. So you can get a lot more use out of these than you might think. I'll also usually bring like a floss pick just because it's a little bit easier for me. And then I have a normal toothbrush. Some of the ultralight hikers will like saw the handle off their toothbrush, but I'm not at that point yet. So that's hygiene. Always important. The next thing I have here is some of my safety equipment that I carry. You never want to be in an emergency, but if you are, it's better to be prepared. And a lot of this stuff is super light. So I have this escape bivvy, and this is tiny and it weighs nothing. And basically, if say like I was camping somewhere and I had set up my tent and I went out for a day hike but got stranded because of weather and injury, like this is something that's going to keep me warm overnight. And it's also bright orange, and there's like reflective stuff inside, so it can also be used for signaling. If this one was like pretty expensive, I mean, it was like $45. You can also use a Mylar blanket to do the same kind of thing. You might actually want to get 2 of these, so you can have one underneath you and one on top of you. Always have extra boot laces, a compass. I forget what this thing is called, but it's another tool for reading your map. You're going to want to know how to use this. Otherwise, it's pointless to have it. I carry a pencil, so if I am navigating by map and compass, I can plot points so I can track my route. There's also like a little ruler on the side of this that's helpful for that as well. I have a hood for my head that is mesh, and this is for if I'm in an area that there's like a ton of mosquitoes or something. I mean, it looks super dorky. You just put it over your head. Like, it's better than having your face covered in mosquito bites. What else do we have? Batteries. I personally, so I just got a new headlamp. I love this one. This one runs on AAA batteries. You can also get a rechargeable battery for it that's not just disposable. The problem with that is if it gets super cold and your rechargeable battery dies, and you can bring it back up, but it's kind of expensive, and there's not going to be an outlet for you to plug it into in the wilderness. This is personally just a lot easier to carry a couple of these. I have a Lucy light, so I'll hang this on the outside of my pack. Oh, it still has power. So it has a little solar panel on it, and we get white light, or you can get a flashing red if there's an emergency. And I keep this on my pack every day, and then I'll even use it for light in my tent in the evening. I have waterproof matches, really important. I have now gotten a fire starter. I haven't tried it yet. You can see I still have it in the packaging. This is something you're going to want to test at home before you use it. I just have to find a way to do that without freaking out my neighbors. Hot hands or heat packs are great to have. You can shove them in the toes of your boots. You can keep them in your pockets. Super light. And again, if you get stuck somewhere where the weather changes quickly, this could be the difference between getting frostbite and not. So to me, that's worth it. I have a whistle. I don't normally carry this one. I have another one that's on my pack, but this one I sometimes stick into my first aid kit because it is a bit louder. And then I have a small pocket knife and a really small multi-tool. I'm actually probably going to get a larger multi-tool than this one, but I do like that it has things like a screwdriver and pliers and scissors and all these different things on it that can be useful when you're outdoors. Okay, so that's safety. Then I have first aid. So this I just upgraded. For years, I've had this little rescue medical kit. It has been loved dearly, and I've added a couple things to it. So I have some electrolyte replacement tabs in here, but I recently had to spend down my FSA, so I got this larger one. And probably what I'll do is I'll start carrying this one since I've been going on a lot of trips with more people and just use this as a backup to refill that. In addition to this, one thing I don't have in here that I'm going to add are some N95 masks. Not just in case there's a disease, but also because sometimes there's wildfires and something like an N95 is really going to protect your lungs. So some additional things that are not included in here, or they have one and I feel like it's not enough. I got these quick clots, which stop bleeding. So if someone gets hurt, this is something that's it's 2 feet long, each one, and it's going to help create a clot very quickly to prevent blood loss. This was sort of like a treat just because I had to spend down the FSA. They were like, oh, blister medic, cool. So this just has a bunch of moleskin and different things to take care of your feet. Your feet are absolutely essential outdoors. What is this one? I got some emergency burn pads, and that can both be used for like a burn from a fire and also a sunburn. And it's something called Allocaine, and basically you clean the area, you put this on, and then you put a bandage over it. These, burns and things like that, and all these other things I'm mentioning, these are things where like you're just stabilizing yourself or someone else and then getting out as soon as you can or getting evacuated. But this is the kind of thing that can, not to be extreme, but it could be the difference between life or death, but it also could be the difference between like severe trauma and what's just like uncomfortable. On that note, I have a dental medic kit because honestly, dental things freak me out. So it comes with some oral pain relief, some dental wax for a temporary filling, and some like different things to basically, if you were to knock a tooth out or break a tooth, kind of like keep it there until you were able to get out and get emergency medical attention. I also grabbed this bug bite thing. I haven't tried it yet because I just got it and luckily we're not in mosquito season yet, but I guess it sucks the venom or whatever would cause the sting out and is supposed to really help with relief and recovery time and then some afterbite as well. Duct tape is an absolute essential. You can use duct tape for so many things. It can fix anything on your tent. It could tape on a boot that the sole has come off of. It could be used as part of a bandage. So this is something I always carry with me. And some people will take like their Nalgene bottle and wrap duct tape around it just to carry it. So that's not a bad idea. The last thing I'm going to show is my snow equipment, or like, I'm not going to show all my snow clothes. I think those are kind of self-explanatory. But these are things that I bring if there's going to be snow or it's just going to be really cold. Again, like, could be the difference between life and death, or just like being uncomfortable and being really comfortable. So the first thing I bring is a foam sit pad. This one's from Nemo, and it's made out of some recycled material from the other products they make. And it's just a little piece of insulation that you can put underneath you when you're sitting down so your bottom stays warm. You can use it as like a little, like a doormat going in and out of your tent. It's just, again, one of those things that it's not that heavy. It doesn't even weigh 6 ounces, and it's something that makes me more comfortable. If I'm going somewhere where I know there's snow and I want to treat myself or it's going to be cold, I have these booties. Mine are synthetic. I'm allergic to down, which causes some issues in what gear I can buy. But they have this nice rubber sole on the bottom, and they're kind of fuzzy inside. So honestly, there's nothing better than not having to wear your hiking boots all night. So that's something, like, after I change out of my dirty hiking clothes, if I'm in an area where it's okay to wear these, I will throw these on. And super light, adds like nothing to my backpack. And this next one's like kind of weird, but waterproof gloves really are not waterproof. So if I'm going somewhere where there's snow, I want to have something that I can put over my gloves if I'm having to dig out snow or build a snow shelter or having to use dead man's to put my tent in. And so I went to, I don't know if I bought these on Amazon or got them from Harbor Freight. These are electrical gloves. They're rubber. They're thick. They're huge. They fit over any glove that I have. It's still super flexible and like easy to move my hand around. So if I am doing work, I can do it. It goes up my arm so I can put it inside my jacket and not have snow get in. It says they're PVC coated, but the nice thing about this is it is going to keep my hands super dry. And they also have this kind of like almost like a flannel lining inside. So even if I'm just wearing these, it's going to keep me warm. Another thing for snow is, and these came with my hiking poles, but I won't use them unless there is snow, is I'll add snow baskets to my poles. And that basically keeps my pole from punching all the way down in the snow. So if I'm going snowshoeing, I'll definitely have these. And the last thing, some people use yak tracks, but I have micro spikes. So essentially what you do with this is the back of it. You put it over your boot. And if there's ice or snow, or like I'll even use these if there's a lot of mud, it's going to provide you with more grip so that you're not slipping all over the ground. But yeah, if there's deep snow, I'm going to be renting snowshoes, because something like this is not going to keep you from still punching down in the snow if the snow is super deep. So I think that about covers it. I mean, I didn't go over my sleeping bags, my liners, my pillows, my tents. Yes, I have multiple of each. I have multiple backpacks. Like, this is an expensive hobby for me, but it's definitely something where there's like a low barrier to entry. There's a lot of really great equipment at Costco and even Walmart. Not just camping gear, but if you go look in like the hunting section, there will be things that would apply since it's still something that's outdoors. My biggest recommendation is just like find out what your leave no trace policies are. Get educated if you can by someone local to where you're going, and always let somebody know where you're going, what you're doing, and when you're expected to come back. And probably like a good idea is to tell them who to contact if you don't come back or you don't contact them. So I hope that helps. Again, I'm by no means an expert. It's just something I think is super fun. So thank you.